Escape, should you get it? We're going to be answering that question today. First of all, what is Escape? Escape is the new horror story creation from BGS. It costs 500 credits and contains approximately an hour and a half of gameplay. This horror quest from BGS is primarily dialogue and puzzle-driven gameplay as you try to escape from a psychological experiment on a derelict star station. This quest begins in the Astro Lounge in Neon, but let's take a look at the opener for it.
To participate in one of our studies.
Yes, I would.
Excuse me, would you be interested in participating in a psychological study? It will require a small investment of your time as well as temporary storage of your belongings. However, in exchange, you will be compensated handsomely.
It depends upon the psychological experiment. Are you going to give me hallucinogenic drugs, strap me to a table, and yell nightmare, nightmare, nightmare?
Unfortunately, Bethesda's idea of a psychological experiment differs from the CIA, and I wasn't going to be plied with psychoactive drugs and screamed at until I developed a disorder. Instead, I was directed to a spaceship where I agreed to the terms of Project Mammon. The objective for participants of Project Mammon is simple: escape a derelict star station and get a monetary reward, but we were given more information on Project Mammon than just that. On Mammon. The word Mammon comes from the post-classical Latin mammona, wealth, used in the Vulgate Bible. References in the New Testament of the Bible refer to Mammon as the representation of money, material wealth, and the pursuit and promise of both. At Project Mammon, we are focused on studies into pursuits that are fundamentally human to create a better society for all. This word is particularly referenced in Matthew 6:24, and that is basically from the Sermon on the Mount, and basically Jesus stating that man cannot both serve God and wealth at the same time. He will hate one and love the other no matter what. So that is where the reference is coming from, and I think this is a wonderful intro for this quest in general. Upon agreeing to the terms of Project Mammon, you are stripped of your gear and teleported to the derelict star station itself. But let's take a look at how the gameplay actually works. And this gameplay is mostly puzzle driven, so I'm going to show you just one of the puzzles. I don't want to ruin them all for you, but let's see how the puzzles work out. And I will say Bethesda's really not known for its puzzles, so I'm not expecting a lot from them. I can't recall where I placed the power cells for the fan servers, but sometimes when you have a particularly vexing problem, it is best to sit down and take a breather.
Seems like a reference to Indiana Jones. I find when I have a problem, if I just sit down and think about it, the solution presents itself. They are making an Indiana Jones game recently. Oh.
So when I am looking at Bethesda in regards to puzzles, I am not expecting too much. Bethesda's not particularly well known for making puzzle-solving games, so when analyzing this, I am kind of looking at a lot of the puzzles within the base game of Starfield, and this quest itself does a vast improvement over that. So the base game, we can see the temple puzzles, which in my opinion is probably one of the worst aspects of the game, and the puzzles presented to the player in this mod is particularly good and not too bad. It is not nearly as good as a puzzle game or a game well known for puzzles like a Breath of the Wild or the Tears of the Kingdom, but it is suitable for a Bethesda title. So one other aspect that we should probably take a look at for this quest and whether assessing one should get it or not is this quest itself is extremely driven by character dialogue. So you are not the only one on this star station. There are a couple other characters you do meet. I am going to introduce one of them. I will refrain from introducing any more than that, as I do not want to ruin too much of the storyline for you. But let's take a couple looks at the opening interactions for one of the characters you're going to meet on this star station, and what does this exactly mean for the player themselves and how they'll be combating the challenges up ahead.
Golden ratio, and it's literally the golden ratio.
Hey, that looks useful. You mind transferring that over to me?
No, I don't, because I don't know who you are.
So as you can see, when we do arrive on the star station itself, there are other participants of Project Mammon trying to escape as well, and we don't know who they are and whether they're to be trusted or not. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the actual dialogue that we do get with this character and see a little bit more about who she is and whether we should trust her or not. But this is going to be one of the major elements of the mod Escape. It's going to be extremely character driven and dialogue driven throughout the whole thing, and focusing with the gameplay around puzzle solving to try to escape from Project Mammon. But let's take a look at her dialogue a little bit up here and see how that does fare out.
So you're up. Wasn't sure if you were dead or just a core. But you're not looking too worse for wear. How you feeling?
Physically I'm fine. Mentally, though, never felt better. I'm okay, just disoriented. I'm not feeling great. I think I'm dying. I've never felt so much pain. We probably should be deceptive to her, so...
Yeah? Well, you look a little dinged up, not gonna lie, but you got a pulse at least. Which is good. For a second, I thought you were another victim of whatever this is. In any case, I think we need to work together. You know what they say about two heads, right?
So the voice acting in this game is spot on. The dialogue choices are absolutely amazing, and the choices that you do make within dialogue does affect this quest and how it will play out and the ending of the quest, so choose wisely. This is a very dialogue driven quest, and it just with how dialogue driven it is, it reminds me of the murder mystery quest from Oblivion, if you've ever played that. It also is very dialogue driven. Of course, this isn't as well polished as that I'm considering basically a perfectly dialogue driven quest, whereas this is it's a 9 out of 10 as far as the dialogue goes and how it does drive the storyline and quest itself. But not only does this story have great dialogue within it, it also does have wonderful environmental storytelling, which it will do through not only data slates and computers, but it will also do it with the environment itself, and kind of also tell not only tell stories within the environmental details there, but it will make references to other projects that Bethesda is doing, and also to the puzzles themselves. So the puzzles are actually involved within the environmental storytelling here. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the environmental storytelling.
I got a flashlight again.
Trouble could have been avoided. You chose to face it head on.
One key thing I would like to point out from that very short clip, and once I did get my flashlight and I was able to clearly see within the room, we could see the corpse of a fellow participant still in the prisoner scrubs as well. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at something that was left in the game, which is referencing towards shattered space. So there's a lot of environmental storytelling as well as some Easter eggs as well for upcoming projects.
Flashlight off. Follow the shadow first. They are coming.
The "they are coming" is reference to the rune. As we can see underneath the "they are coming," we have the symbol of the snake eating its own tail, which is very significantly represented in a lot of the rune symbology, and this is likely a reference to Shattered Space, which is coming up, and it's a nice upcoming project. Overall, this quest, I think it is probably like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I think it is well worth the $5, but there are certain players which I do know will probably not enjoy this quest. Now, we can say what caused this quest to not get a 10 out of 10. It is relatively light on the combat, so there is not a lot of combat within this quest, and I think that might be off-putting to some players that enjoy the gunplay within Starfield and would probably not enjoy as much a dialogue and puzzle-driven quest line like this, and would prefer more of a quest line that was combat-driven and less dialogue and puzzle-driven. So I would say that this quest is worth $5 for the right audience, but for the right audience. Not everyone is going to like this quest, and that's perfectly fine. Players have different gameplay styles they like, and I would say if you are one of those players that loves the gunplay and is only here for the gunplay and doesn't really care too much for dialogue or puzzle solving, you are probably not going to have a fun time with this quest. But if you do want to enjoy a nice dialogue driven quest that has lots of puzzles and twists and turns, this is definitely going to be a quest for you. And I'm going to wrap it up in a moment here, but at the very end of the video, I am going to show a small scene from the end of it, and I just want to use that to highlight a point about how choices in this quest's dialogue and how you interact with the characters is important. When I did my playthrough, I'll throw a card up just so if you want to watch the entire live playthrough you can, but when I did my playthrough, my intent was to save all the characters I was traveling with, and at the end of the day they all ended up dead because I made some poor choices within the dialogue and how I played the quest itself. So there's several different endings that are possible for this quest in several different ways you can approach a lot of the different puzzles within here. Now, what I will say, as far as puzzle games go, what I would consider a perfect example of a puzzle game is Tears of the Kingdom. Why would I say that? Because not only can you solve puzzles in that game the way the developers designed it to, but you can also solve puzzles in ways that they didn't even think of. And people would not consider it cheesing or anything like that. You were just using a lot of creative thought to solve puzzles. That would be an absolute perfect puzzle game. Do I think this compares to Tears in the Kingdom and that kind of puzzle solving? No, not even close. Do I think this is better than like the temple puzzles that we see within the base game of Bethesda? Absolutely. Do I think this is better puzzle solving than most Bethesda games? Absolutely. So I think the puzzles are an improvement as far as Bethesda's concerned. Are they the best puzzles you're going to see within the game's industry? I don't think so, but I think they work very well. The environmental storytelling also plays into the puzzles as well as there is a nice developed theme of mystery within this quest line. So this quest line, I find it very reminiscent of the murder mystery quest line from Oblivion, but it also really reminds me of kind of the Saw movies, where you're the main character is waking up in a room and he just has to escape, and things do not look great. So I think overall this is a very great quest as far as Bethesda. I'd like to see more development in the gameplay mechanics around puzzles. So I'm very hopeful that the puzzles that we see within Shattered Space are going to be in kind of the same thought process as this quest, opposed to the thought process of the temple puzzles in the base game, which I think were an absolute failure on Bethesda's part. The temple puzzles were more annoying than fun, if that makes sense, whereas the puzzles within this escape quest were more fun than annoying. Were they the best puzzles I've ever experienced in a game? No, but they were enjoyable. They were fun. They moved along the storyline very well, and there was a lot of environmental storytelling to help you kind of solve the puzzles as well. So they tied in a lot of different elements together and made everything work very well. But if you enjoyed this video or found it entertaining or informative, like it helped you make a decision on whether you want to get this mod or not, please give me a like and subscribe. I always do appreciate it. And if you want to avoid the spoiler of what happens at the end, please cut out now. I'm going to go ahead and show that video, and you can kind of see everything turns south for me on this quest, which, I mean, it really did give me kind of surprise at the ending. I was not expecting it to turn that way.
I'm sorry, but there's only one way out of this.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Sorry, kid. You did this to yourself.
And what about him? Are you just gonna kill him too?
No, just you.
Yeah. We're done. Sorry, you're not killing anyone. How cruel.